welcome to an introduction to the electric bass. This lesson is meant for the complete beginner, someone with no musical experience at all. The first thing we're going to do is look at the three main parts of the bass. There's the body, the neck, and the headstock. So along the bottom of the body, there's a contour that will fit on your right hip. Now you don't want to have it right up tight against your hip because the bass will be too straight up and down and you'll have a hard time seeing what you're doing. But if it's too far away from your hip, the bass will be too flat, it'll be hard to play, and you may even end up hurting yourself. So a couple inches away from your hip and leaning the body against your rib cage is what we're going for. Now take your right forearm and just rest it very lightly on the top of the body. If you don't do that, most basses are very top heavy and they'll end up falling over like that. Okay, so two other parts on the body we're going to focus on. The first one being the pickups. And those are the two black plastic strips that are running across the body. Yours are probably in a different place than mine, might look different, but hopefully they'll be approximately the same area. The other part are the strings. And the strings are the metal wires that run the entire length of the bass. So you'll notice that it starts with a thin one and it gets thicker and thicker as you go across. Now the thin string is string number 1, and it's very easy. From there you just count across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the thinner the string, the higher the pitch. So string number 1 is a high pitch string, and then moving across, they get deeper or lower, till finally string number 4 is the deepest or the lowest note. This is important because when we're talking about high and low strings, it always goes by pitch. It doesn't go by proximity to the floor. So string number 1 is your highest string, and string number 4 is your lowest string. This will prevent a lot of confusing conversations. So now, what we're going to do is try to figure out how to play these strings. So we're going to take your right arm, hang it very, very loosely in front, and relax in front of your bass with the palm facing in. We're going to raise it from the elbow, not from the shoulder, but from the elbow, until your thumb comes to rest on the top of one of those pickups. Now for me, the nail of my thumb is facing towards the bass, but for you it might be angled differently because we're all made a little bit differently. Okay, so put your forearm back on the bass, resting nice and relaxed. Okay, now we have our hand position, we have to figure out how to actually play the string. So I like to take your hand off and just put it on the top of the neck and just make a scratching motion. Okay, this is important because we're trying to move from the middle knuckle, not the back knuckle. There's a lot of reasons for this, which we'll get into later. Okay, now also think about bringing that pointer finger and touching your thumb. That's another important part of this motion as well. So once we get our hand back up, in that position, try to rest your index finger on string number 4. And do that scratching motion, or that pinching motion, until your finger comes to touch your thumb. Now you go into the bass a little bit. You don't want to come out, you don't want to go straight down. It's a slight angle into the bass. If you go to aim for your thumb, it's the perfect target. You'll get exactly the right angle. Now, you don't want to play with the exact tip of the finger, you don't want to play with the flat part on the bottom. It's kind of in between those two parts. And try to get a strong sound, but not an ugly, too strong of a sound, and likewise, not too thin of a sound either. Okay, so let's move that index finger now over to string number 1, and we're going to continue that motion, and we're going to bring it through all 4 strings. So let's play string number 1 and rest on string number 2. This is called a rest stroke. Very, very important. It's going to come up a lot later. Now we're going to play string number 2, come to rest on string number 3. Play string number 3, come to rest on 4. Play string number 4, and your finger will come to touch your thumb as it did before. So now let's put that all in one fluid motion. Not too fast though, but nice and slow. Separate the notes. Great, now we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to climb from 4 to 1. This is a little bit trickier because when you go from 1 to 4, you're just kind of falling through the strings. But when you go from 4 to 1, you have to lift your finger every time to get to the new string. So it's a little bit trickier. So just take your time. So let's get set up on string number 4. We're going to play 4, rest on your thumb, lift your finger. We're going to put it on string 3. We're going to play string 3 and rest on 4, lift it up, place it on string 2, play 2, rest on 3, lift it up, lay it on string 1, play 1, and rest on 2. Okay, so we've gone both ways. Let's try to put them together. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, great. So now, for right now, that's all we need to know for the right hand. You can identify the string numbers and you can make a sound. That's great. So we're going to move over to the left hand and the neck. On the neck are these metal strips. These are called frets. What I'm going to refer to as the frets are not the metal strips, but the boxes in between. The reason for that is if you press on the metal strip, you're going to get a really ugly and not a very clear sound at all. Okay, so it's very, very simple. The first box, or the first fret, we're going to call it, is right here. And from there, you just count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until you run out of frets. Most basses will have between 19 and 24 frets. And there's some dots there to help you find some of the higher numbers as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you a specific fret to find. And think of this like finding coordinates on a map. So the fret we're going to look for is string 3, fret 3. And if you can, try to follow the same process every time you do this. So our process is going to be find the string, 1, 2, 3, and then find the fret, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there is string 3, fret 3. So we found it. Now we have to know how to press with your hand. So very similar to the right hand, we're going to keep your left arm hanging loosely by your side, but two important differences. One is it's behind the bass, not in front, but we're behind the bass, and also the palm is facing out this time. So try to raise your arm again from the elbow, not the shoulder, until the palm of your hand hits the bottom of the neck. Now we're aiming to hit the bottom of the neck with this little nook right in between this bone on the palm of your hand and the first knuckle of your index finger. For me, there's a little nook there, a little dent that I can bring up, and it fits, the neck of the bass fits inside of that. So try to do that again. Bring it up till that part of your palm of your hand hits the neck. The next step is we're going to try to rotate your hand so not your entire palm is touching, but only that one part that I mentioned. The easiest way to do that is to take your right hand and just push by your pinky. I know if you can do it this way, that's great, but in the beginning, I find it's easiest if you just push with your pinky. We don't want to have it straight up and down like this. We don't want to have it flat. We want to kind of have it in between. So just that one part of your palm is touching. Now take your thumb and just rest it very, very lightly. Don't press, just rest it on top of the neck. Okay, that's our hand position. Now we have to figure out how to press with the fingers. So let's take your left hand, your middle finger, and try to touch it to the palm of your hand and aim for, kind of near the base of your thumb. Now, your fingers also have numbers. We have fret numbers, string numbers, and finger numbers. Your index finger is number 1, your ring finger is number 2, your middle finger is number 2, your ring finger is number 3, and your pinky is number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So take your middle finger or your second finger and try to touch that to the palm of your hand. Okay, now bring your arm up, touch that spot. We're going to rotate the hand, rest the thumb, and try to touch that middle finger, your second finger, to the palm of the hand. You can't do it because the bass is in between. That's good. That's what we want to do. And we want to try to have your fingers curved or arched just a little bit. Not extreme, not flat, but just almost if you relax your hand, they kind of arch automatically anyway. So I'm going to show you what part of my finger I'm trying to press with. It's very similar to the right hand. It's not the tip, it's not the bottom part, it's kind of in between. And this is going to change all the time depending what position your hand is in. Your hand is going to be moving all over the place, changing all the time, but more or less for right now, that's the kind of area we want to try to press down on the string. So let's get our hand back up, all those little things we're looking for. And when you try to touch your finger to the palm of your hand, this time aim for that string 3, fret 3 that we had before, that we found before. Okay, so try to get as close as you can to the metal, but not on top. If you go on top, it's either going to sound muted or rattly. If you go too far to the back, again, it's going to start rattling. Try to get as close as you can to the fret. Now try not to press too hard either. You'll wear yourself out, but also you can make yourself sound out of tune on some lower end instruments. So just release a little bit of pressure once you get a good sound until you find out how much pressure you need. So there, the note's disappearing. That means I have to add a bit more pressure again until I get it to sound nice and clear. So finding the minimum amount of pressure that you need. Now, just make sure as well that your right hand is on the same string as your left hand. Very, very important. Okay, so now we have enough knowledge to start learning some songs. But first, we need a way to communicate these notes, these strings, these frets to other people and have them communicate back to us. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to call every one of these notes, we're going to name it from a letter from the alphabet. So we're going to, right now, just deal with 3. We're going to deal with string number 1 open, or fret 0, or no fingers, that's called a G. String number 2 open, or no fingers, no frets, fret 0 is called D. And finally, that note that we found on string 3, fret 3, is called C. So we have G on string 1, D on string 2, and C, fret 3, string 3. Okay, the reason I picked these 3 is I'm assuming most people will be playing with guitar players. And for guitar music, these are the 3 most common notes or chords that a guitar player will play. So we want to get you guys up and running as quick as possible here. So now we have our 3 notes, G, C, and D. Now what we need to do is find out how to play along with a song. And the most typical way in the beginning, not the best way, but the most typical way is to have the lyrics of the song, and above those lyrics, above specific words is written a letter. And in our case, the letter is either going to be G, D, or C. So what happens is when someone sings that word, that's when you play the letter above it. Our example today is going to be Happy Birthday. Everyone knows that song. So the first line, Happy Birthday to you. Above the word birthday is the letter G. That means when someone sings birthday, we're going to play a G. Above the word you is the letter D, which means when someone sings you, we're going to play a D. So here's the melody. Just so you can kind of get it in your head, because I'm not going to sing it for you, but I am going to say the words. So line number 1, we have G and D. So happy birthday to you. Line number 2 is backwards. Above birthday is D, above you is G. Happy birthday to you. Line number 3 is a little trickier because it's going to have that C in there. So just if you need a little extra time, what you need to do is start thinking about it early. The third line is G and C. So as soon as you play the G, start thinking about the C. Don't wait too long. So third line, above birthday is a G, and above the person's name, I'm just going to say someone for now, is the letter C. So line number 3, happy birthday, dear someone. Line number 4 is the same as line 2. Above birthday is a D, and above you is a G. Happy birthday to you. So let's put that all together now, all 4 lines. Line number 1 is G and D. Happy birthday to you. Line number 2 is D and G. Happy birthday to you. Line number 3 is G and C. Happy birthday, dear someone. Line number 4 is D and G. Happy birthday to you. Okay, great. So now what I'd like you to do is go online and do a search for songs with G, C, D chords. You'll get thousands of songs pop up. The secret is finding one that you know really well and one that you like. One that you know so that you're more relaxed and you can recognize parts of the song, and one that you like because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're not playing music that you like, you're probably not going to be motivated to do it. Okay, so try to learn as many songs as you can. Just keep playing through songs. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about if you make a mistake. Even if you're in the middle of a song, you have no idea what's happening. You have no idea what you're even holding in your hands at that point. That's okay. What we're trying to do is get used to thinking on the fly, thinking under pressure, because that's a much different skill than thinking in a safe environment. I mean, we can sit here all day and think about playing bass, but that's only going to get us so far. The real secret to learning is, and getting better at playing bass, is you have to do it. You have to do it to get better. I wish someone had told me that a long time ago. It sounds so obvious when you say it and so simple, but it's true. You have to play the bass to get better at playing the bass. No amount of expensive equipment, expensive basses, expensive amplifiers is going to make you a better bass player. You have to put in the time. And what we're trying to do is to make that time enjoyable. Because I'm assuming you guys want to learn how to play bass to have fun, right? That is the point of this. So try to find a bunch of songs that you know, a bunch of songs that you like that have G, C, and D in it. Look for the lyrics with the letter above it and just play as much as you can. So as I said, the secret is have fun and play every day. Thanks a lot. I'll see you guys later.